Hello, welcome to Boardgames with Niramas. I'm Niramas and I'm here today with Draco, of course. And we are excited to keep going on this top 100 list. We are going now into the 70s. So in the 70s here we're going to start off, and yeah, I don't know, this segment is a bit special. There's a bunch of games here that I haven't filmed, which is a bit boring because then I can't have the video running in the background, of course. But there's also sort of a style of games in this segment that is a bit unusual for me. For some reason, they ended up in the same 10 segment. A lot of sort of social games. You'll see what I'll talk about when we start with number 70. Yeah, so first off today we have Diamant, or I think it's called Incan Gold as well in another version. This is a bit of an older game. This is from 2005. Discovered this game a few years ago and I really enjoy it. This is one of the games that I always bring when I'm trying to introduce new people to the hobby, or have people that are, don't want to get too invested in the game. This is perfect. It's so much fun. You can play a bunch of people as well. What you do in this game is you go out. I'm going to show you some pictures here. You go out on this map. Basically, you're these adventurers that are in a camp. You each have your own player color with little meeple. And you draw cards one by one. The cards are drawn, and depending on how many diamonds or rubies shows up on these cards, you're going to split those equally among the adventurers, among the players. So that means that some of them might be left. If there's not an equal amount according to the player count, then whatever is left of those diamonds or rubies will be left in that spot. And then when every turn, every round, before you draw a new card, you're going to get a choice. Simultaneously, you choose one of two options. You're going to stay and keep going into the caves, or you're going to run back to the camp. And everybody selects that in secret and it reveals. And if let's say you're the only one that went back to the camp, then you're going to pick up everything on your way back that's on those cards, right? Or let's say you're two people that running back, well then you're going to share whatever is on those cards. Because the thing is, this is a push your luck game, which is something I really like, and at certain points in this dungeon, in this deck of cards, there are dangerous traps and fires and giant stones that come rolling at you and all that, just like in an Indiana Jones movie, right? So if one of those comes out, it's not that bad, you're not that scared, right? But if another one of the same type comes out, and there's 3 of each dangerous type in the deck to start off with. So if another one comes out, then everybody busts. They don't get anything. If you make it back to the camp though with some diamonds, then you get to put them in your little chest, and it's really cute. I don't have this version. I have a version, I think a newer version, where the chest actually closes as well. Where you put your little diamonds in that chest and you get to keep them. Yeah, you can see them here, the really lovely components as well. And then you do this I think 5 times, and at the end of it you check who has the most value in the chest, and that's the winner. So really easy game. I already explained the whole game to you, basically. And yeah, I really enjoy it. Diamant, it's such a cute game, and it's works with everyone. You can play, I think, 8 players in a game at the same time, and everybody can join in. It's a lot of laughing going on and excitement and all that. So now let's head to the next one. The next game on my list is called No Thanks. No Thanks is a very, very small game. It's basically just a deck of cards and some tokens, some coins. What you do in this game is that you don't want to get points. And these cards out here are points. And so every round a card comes up. And if it's your turn, you can say no thanks. And you can put a coin on the card and you don't have to take it. And it goes to the next player. But at some point, somebody has to take the card, and as it builds up, because all your coins that you put on the card are minus points. So in this case, on the picture here, you have an 11, and there's 2 coins to be on it. That means it's only a 9, basically. And you want to get as low score as possible. There's also a twist to the whole thing, because if you make straights, so if you already have the 12 and the 13, you don't mind taking the 11, because then that's only the lowest in that straight that's going to count. And of course you can see what cards everybody has. So if you know that somebody really wants the 11 in this case, then the question is, how far will you let it run sort of around the table before you grab it? Because somebody else might grab it, and then you really wanted that because that's a way for you to get a bunch of these coins, because the coins are, it's like a closed economy. So everybody starts with a certain amount of coins, and then as you pick up cards, you will get more of those coins back. Really fun little game. Had so much fun with this, playing with my friends, and you know, we had a lot of interesting situations coming up. It plays in like 10 minutes or something, and then you play it again basically because it's so quick. Really fun little card game, no thanks. And here's another one of these. Well, it's not really the same kind of game, but sort of. It's a game that has very few components, but the game is mostly made up of the players. So Secret Hitler is a social deduction game in the same line sort of as the Resistance and Avalon. But in Secret Hitler, at first I was like hesitant to this theme because it's kind of weird to play Hitler. I don't know. There's also a Secret Voldemort, which is exactly the same game, but in the Harry Potter universe, if you're more comfortable with that. I haven't tried it, but it's the same thing. So, and this one is a bit complicated in some ways at first, you know, comparing to the Resistance, for instance, because some of the players will be fascists, sort of bad guys, and some will be liberals, and that's secret roles, of course. And then you're trying to figure that out, but there's more ways in this game to figure that out than in Resistance, for example. There's a lot more guessing going on in that game. In this one, because you have one player being the Chancellor, one player being what's it called, whatever it's like, the head of state, and those two roles are switching around. And I'm not going to explain the whole game, but how it works is that you're going to vote on sort of different yes or no, or ja or nein, because it's in German. And depending on how people vote, how they act, what they say, and so on, you can start figuring out who is who. And the whole fun twist to this game is that one player is Hitler. The fascist, and Hitler is obviously one of the fascists, but the fascist knows who is Hitler, but Hitler doesn't know anything because the one player that's playing Hitler is closing their eyes in the whole sort of night phase at the start. So there's ways for the good guys, for the liberals, to be able to kill one of those other players, and if they kill Hitler, they win instantly. But so there's the whole thing going on where, like, if you're a fascist, you know who Hitler is. Well, you might want to sort of take the blame on you instead, so that people won't suspect the right one. I love this game; it's so much fun. I had such a good time laughing around this game. Some really fun situations can appear here, and I especially remember when playing this with a bunch of YouTubers and friends, and Enoch Frixelius at CalCon 2 years ago, and I was just lying straight to Enoch's face, and he was so shocked. It was so much fun. So yeah, Secret Hitler, awesome game. Now let's head to the next one. So finally, a game that I have filmed. This is Jorvik. Jorvik is designed by Stefan Feld, but it's a really, really different Stefan Feld design. I usually say that this is the meanest game that I still like. I usually don't like mean games, but it seems to be a theme on this segment, as I said earlier, that there's kind of different games from what I usually like. And this video is actually the first video I made, the first run through I made on my own for the channel. So this is over 3 years old by now. But I still think the run through is fairly good, though, even though the equipment is not that good. So the quality is not that great. But I really enjoy this game. You're standing in line. There's only a deck of cards on a board and these little meeples, these little Viking meeples. And you stand in line to be able to buy a card. But the more people in the line, that will increase the price of that card. So people would sort of stand behind you just to make it more expensive for you. And the whole game design is that you have more workers than you possibly can use to buy cards with. So you're supposed to use those to sort of mess with your opponent. And there can be some situations in this game where you actually are quite mean to a certain player. But obviously, you're just trying to balance it out so that you can be the winner and not someone else. And yeah, I do enjoy this game a lot. I'm not really sure why, but Jorvik, really fun game. At number 66, this is Whitehall Mystery. Once again, it's a game I haven't filmed. I should do that, actually. It's quite hard to film in some ways, but I guess I could do it with Draco somehow. You're supposed to sort of play 3 players against 1. So this is not a social deduction, but it's like a hidden movement. One of the players are Jack the Ripper. That's my favorite part to play. It's so much fun. Trying to move around London on this London map here and trying to sort of, I'm not really sure, I think he's killing people. He's like leaving body parts from different places in London. It's kind of weird. The other players are these detectives trying to find him, and they move around on these numbered slots, and they move around in a certain pattern and so on, like rules on how they can move and how many movement points they have, and they can search places to find if Jack the Ripper has been at that point. It really reminds me of Fury of Dracula, which is also a fun game, but it's not in my top 100 because it's so long, it's so much to bring to the table, so it doesn't get played that often. Whitehall Mystery is like 30 minutes, but it gets me the same feeling, and it's so much fun. It's so exciting when you're Jack the Ripper and you're trying to move around, and they just miss you by like one street. They're just one street off, and they're closing in on you, and you need to get to a certain place, and you only have a fixed amount of movements to get there in time. So this is a really exciting game. I really like this type of game as well. I would like to play more games of this type. If you have any suggestions, tell me in the comment section. Have you played any games with this hidden movement that you can recommend? Because I really like Whitehall Mystery. And then we have a big box game from Simon. This was one of my favorite games from last year, Rising Sun. Rising Sun is in some ways, it's Eric Lang, the designer, is sort of a follow-up to Blood Rage. But in Rising Sun, there's this Japanese theme out on this big map, and we have all these cool miniatures, really scary miniatures if you start looking at these Japanese goats and so on. There's some cool dragons in here as well. And what I really like about this game is that, as you can see here, I'm holding these tiles. On your turn, you're picking an action, and then everybody gets to do that action, but you get to do it a little bit better. It's like the Puerto Rico system, right? Or the Race for the Galaxy. And it's a combat game on a map, like dudes on a map, but it's not just about the combat. It's you have to move around. This is something I really like about this game. You can't turtle up, and well, you have a turtle out there, but you can't turtle up and just stay in one zone and like Risk or whatever. You have to sort of move around so that you score your points by having the control of different areas as the game goes on. And all the clans, all the different factions you can play have different special abilities. It's really the downside to the game, perhaps I would say, is that if you don't play it that often, which I tend to not do because it takes a whole night of gaming, then it's kind of tricky to keep track of all those special abilities, and you can move like that and you can do that. But I had a lot of fun with this game, and I really want to play it soon again. And there's also alliances, but I hate negotiation in games. That's like one of my big no-nos in games. But there's not that much going on here because it's like a phase. It's like in the game there's alliances, and you can break that alliance. And one of the actions is to break the alliance. So it's not like you're backstabbing people just out of being mean. It's actually one part of the game, and there's like punishments to doing that as well. And as I said, when you do an action, you get a better version of that action, but also your ally gets a better version of that action. So there's a lot of interesting team building and team construction here as well, but that could vary from round to round. And I actually kind of like to play this game being the odd man out and being alone, which has some benefits as well. Really cool game, really enjoy it. Rising Sun. Okay, now we're back to more of a standard Euro style board game, which I most of the time prefer. Really midweight worker placement, tile laying, Rajas of the Ganges, as it's called. A really cool game. It has some really interesting things. I mean, in the base, it's the worker placement, doing actions on the map, building buildings, putting out the tiles to form like little tracks that you can sort of follow on your board, which leads to bonuses. There's a lot of combo wombo in this. You do one thing that leads to another thing that leads to getting points, but you also get coins and all that, which is really fun. The really interesting twist to it here is that there's no points, which I really enjoy. There's like fame and coins, but there's no like end game score. So you win, as you can see on this map here, the outer edge of the map is the coins, and you have the coin trackers. And then the little sort of next step, the golden part, are the fame. And they're going to start down there at opposite sides. And once they meet, once your fame and your coins values meet, that triggers the end game. And then the first one to do that wins. And that's really interesting. It's really different from a lot of games. And it's interesting as well because you're you have these dice, you use dice, but you don't really roll. It's like you don't really have the 6 is not always better than a 1, because you use the dice as workers to, or like you place your workers and then you use the dice to pay for your actions, use them as building material as well to build those, as you can see here, the buildings out on your board, and that forms those little roads, and you have markets that you can score more coins from. So you can go for a coin strategy, getting a lot of coins but not that much fame, or you can go for a fame strategy, or a little bit of both. And yeah, there's so much fun going on in Rajas of the Ganges, and I think it looks amazing as well. I really enjoy this one, can really recommend it. And at number 63, we have Isle of Skye. Isle of Skye is a beautiful little tiling game, sort of builds on Carcassonne in some ways, but you're building your own little kingdom, and that kingdom will score you, points, but it will also get you coins as income so that you can buy tiles, because each round you need to buy those tiles in order to then build them out in your kingdom. And this is like an interesting, I think it's called like I cut you choose, basically, or whatever it's called, a mechanism that like I put, like you can see here, I put a certain price behind my little play screen on each tile. And one of them is the axe, so I will just get rid of that. The other 2 I will put a price on. So that price will be what the other players has to pay me in order to buy that tile. But if they don't do that, then I have to pay that amount to the bank in order to, keep that tile myself. Well, I have to do it, take the tile and then place it in my kingdom. So there's a lot of interesting choices going on in this one, and then you reveal, everybody reveals at the same time, and then there's like a market phase where you can buy the tiles from the other players. And every round there's also a different kind of goal going on, so you're going to score on different things. So it could be like, oh, whoever has the biggest water area connected, or whoever has the longest road from their castle. There's a lot of this different scoring, and these tiles that are scoring, there are a bunch of those as well, so the game is really varied that way. Really enjoy this. I really think this is one of the, it's one of those games that are really easy to learn and to play and all that, but it just keeps coming back to me. I just want to play it more. I played one of the expansions, there's 2 I think, but I played one of them, Journeymans, and I didn't really appreciate that one. Most of the time I do like expansions to games that I like, but this one sort of made the whole smoothness of the game went away. It just became more complicated, and there was some fun parts of that expansion as well, but I still prefer the base game of Isle of Skye. Really, I can really recommend this one. Okay, and here we have a newer game, Underwater Cities. Was released last year at Essen Spiel from Delicious Games and Vladimir Suchi. Really cool game. Some compare this to Terraforming Mars, which I think is just wrong. You shouldn't do that. This is a worker placement game where you also play cards. And of course, the cards have some similarities in the sense that the cards have special abilities. But the really fun twist here is that there's 3 different colors, spaces in the game, as you can see. And when you go out with your worker, if you go with your worker or your little submarine, and you go to a green space, and then if you play a green card from hand, then you get to do both the action of the space and the card's action or benefit, which is really interesting. So there could be sometimes when you want to go to a red space, but you don't have a good red card in hand, because you can only have 3 cards in hand. That's also interesting. So you use a card and then you draw a card every turn, and you can get more cards temporarily, but then at the end of the round you're going to have to, well, like at the start of your round, you have to discard anyway. So yeah, very interesting stuff going on here. And of course what you're doing is building underwater cities, so there's a bit of like tile placement as well, sort of on your own board. Where you place these cities and connect them with tunnels, and you build different kind of factories to produce an income in the income phase. But there's only like a few income phases during the game as well. So it's very special in its feeling of playing this game. It's right here I'm playing solo, and here you can see the board. I've built 2 cities and some farms which will generate kelp for me that I need to feed my people with. There's like resource conversion and all that. It was just an expansion released at Essen Spiel as well, and I haven't tried it yet, but it looks cool. New Discoveries it's called, and it has, most of all, it has new player boards that have these layered player boards, so things don't slide around, which I really love that. So yeah, Underwater City is a really good game, both for solo and for multiplayer. And the last one for today for this segment is Viticulture. And this is the Essential Edition with the Tuscany expansion. There's a bit of confusion going on there with all these different versions of Viticulture, but just Viticulture in itself is a good game, but with Tuscany, it's really good. Now, I must say, this game has, slipped down. Last year, it was number 19 for me. So, of course, down to 61, that's a bit of a fall. It has both to do with me playing, a bunch of other games that I really enjoy. But it also, like, I haven't played this in a while. And it's not that I played it solo for a while, a lot. And this is for my solo playthrough as well. And I do enjoy it a lot. I mean, it's still high on my list, right? But I think it's just, slipped a little bit because I played it a while. And then, it's often like that for me. It goes in waves. Like I sort of, I get a little bit tired of a game. And then there might be an expansion or something coming out. And I get excited again. Now, Viticulture is a really cool worker placement game. And it has some really interesting things going on where you place your workers in the different seasons. So you have 4 different seasons with Tuscany. And you're also getting these cards and playing the cards, building up your vineyard so that you can sort of plant and harvest the grapes. And then you use the grapes to make wine. And the wine is in your cellar and it ages and gets better. And then you need to get contracts in order to sell that wine. As you can see, here's the cellar and all that. And right here I'm playing with the expansion also that brings buildings into the game. The latest expansion brought a whole new set of cards. So it just changed up all the cards. Really fun stuff. Yeah, it's a really good game. I really enjoy it. But yeah, sadly there's a lot of new cool games coming and they move up and down. But anyhow, it's still good being in this spot on my top 100, of course. So yeah, that was today's top sort of the 10 segment of the top 100 list. We'll be back next Friday again with another 10 segment, and by that time we'll be halfway actually to the 100s. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, press the like button, subscribe to the channel down here, and also click the little bell symbol so you get notifications from YouTube when I post new videos. There's a lot of videos coming, of course. We're in the after Essen time. I have a bunch of games in my shelf, still in shrink. There's a lot of unboxings coming, but also I'll mix that up with some playthroughs, solo or with Draco and so on. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the support for the channel. Have a great evening or morning or whenever you're watching. Take care. Bye-bye.
Be like Draco. Follow Board Games with Niramas on Facebook at BGW Niramas.